Chapter 26. A New World. Lydia looked behind her. The gateway had gone. Ahead of her stood the companions, looking at her expectantly. Bugger, she thought. They expect me to know what to do next. I don't. I need to understand what Oddie knows, and that's going to take a while. I'd better give them all something to do. She looked around. They stood on a slope, rising from a wooded valley to some hills with craggy outcrops. There were birds flying. She recognized the feel of them. They were birds she knew from her own world. The small animals she sensed rustling and burrowing in the woods seemed familiar. For another world, it felt like home. This might be her native Lancashire, but before the humans. There was no traffic noise, no aircraft, no electricity pylons. There was no evidence of farming, no signs of people other than her companions. This would be a perfect holiday destination. But this was no holiday, she reminded herself. Food shouldn't be a problem. They had provisions in their magical knapsacks. And they had shelter, their tents. They could conjure fire for warmth. She could reach out and find what was around them. She didn't need the others to do anything right now, but she needed them not to get bored or scared, nor to resent her for bringing them here. Right, she said. I want to use magic as little as possible. We can't tell what attention it might attract. I'd like you all to pair up. 2 pairs should go down into the woods and collect firewood. The other 2 should go up the hills ahead of us, see what's there, and see if you can find a good place for us to camp for the night. Oddie and I will stay and discuss what we understand from what Ambrose has told us. It looks like it's late spring or early summer here. Just get back before it gets dark. Have fun exploring. Dean and Jimmy teamed up and set off up the slope towards the hills. Christy consulted with Shona, and they set off for the woods. Sophie ordered Freddie to join her. Sophie started towards the hills, but Freddie tried to argue in favour of going down to the woods. Freddie, I'm not going to stand around while you pick flowers, Sophie said. I want to find out what's over this hill. Move it. Freddie shrugged and followed her like a puppy. This left Corbin and Dev to go foraging for firewood. Lydia tested the grass. It was dry. The sun was warm, the light breeze mild, and the air as clean as a mountain stream. She, Oddie, and Xander sat and watched 2 pairs of their friends dwindling away towards the trees. Good move, said Xander. Give the troops something to do. Definite roles and purpose. A key to success in group survival situations. It just seemed like a good idea, Lydia admitted. Aye, that's because you're a natural, Xander said. I wanted to get rid of them for a while so we could think, Lydia said. I didn't say a natural what, Xander joked. Oddie chuckled. Lydia looked at him. He was a worrier, not a chuckler. She was glad he seemed in good spirits. So, tell me, Oddie, what do I need to know? She asked. Well, everything, of course, he replied. I'll prioritise. Most of this we should tell the others, but this is an opportunity to decide what we should keep back. Some of it's quite worrying. Xander, please add anything you know we might not. I think what Ambrose has given us is a patchwork of information the 3 of us need to stitch together. Well, I'm a simple creature, Xander said. Actually, I'm not, but compared to Ambrose I am. Aren't we all? He has discussed a lot with me over the years. At least, he thinks he has. Mostly he has rambled out loud to himself while I have been present. He asks a lot of questions, answers them, then comes to his own conclusions. He rarely articulates his conclusions, as I have told Oddie before. Despite that, I have picked up some things I hope will be useful. Oddie nodded his appreciation. The first and most worrying thing, and this is one we should keep to ourselves for now. I'm not liking the sound of this, Lydia grumbled. Oddie looked her in the eye. This was becoming a habit. Oddie was rising to the occasion, and Lydia liked it. I don't think any of this is designed for our liking, he said. But it's valuable information, better than not knowing. Lydia smiled at him. I know you're trying to help, Oddie. I really appreciate it. She put her hand on his. She'd never seen Oddie blush before. We're in the Anteworld, he continued. It lies between our world and the Altar World. We're at the end nearest the gateway, as you know, so we're close to our world. The old magic, which is your primary source of magical power, comes from our world. The high magic, the source of power for the rest of the companions, comes mostly from the Altar World. Hence the problem between our worlds. Lydia frowned. I think I see where you're going with this. The look Oddie gave her was admiring, but burdened with sadness. Exactly. The further we go towards the end of this quest, the closer we get to the Altar World. This has consequences. Your old magic will be less powerful, but your high magic will be stronger. For the rest of us, it makes little difference. You might still be the most powerful of us, though Dev will give you a run for your money, as they say. This is why Ambrose has given you the best wand he can, Xander added, and why he has insisted you keep practicing with it. I see that now. I wish I'd practiced harder. Ambrose was pleased with your progress, but we jumped into this quest a wee bit early, Xander noted. One other thing I'll add. Throughout the Anteworld are animals and plants from our world. There will be other animals as we move further along our quest. You mean animals from the Altar World? Lydia asked. Oddie answered. It's not clear. Ambrose thinks it likely they're beasts the Watcher has either invented or corrupted. They won't be friendly. Xander jumped in. You have a great affinity with our animals, more so even than Ambrose, I suspect. You will have little or no affinity with the Watcher's animals. You will easily sense the difference, I imagine. Never forget, you are the Queen of 1,000 Forests. Lydia scowled. Why did Ambrose give me all this power only to send me somewhere where it doesn't work? Xander looked at Oddie. Well, it does work, Oddie said, and it will work for most of the quest. Plus, it's just a side effect of giving you the high magic, which is still pretty useful. The thing you have to understand, Xander added, is that Ambrose had a powerful insight about you. He chose you because he believed you would have the right qualities. He was right. I think he has come to love you more than anyone since he had his own children. Ambrose's life must be constant torment. Yet he has allowed himself to love you, even though he knew he would have to send you on this wee errand. There is so much more to you than your magical abilities, Lydia, Oddie said. He looked into her eyes again. You're amazing. He's right, Xander confirmed. So, what about this quest? What can you tell me? Oddie sighed. As Ambrose said, the details vary each time. Generally, and nobody in our world knows why, there is a quest which involves a series of objects or actions based on the fundamental essences. You are aware of the classical 4 elements? Earth, air, fire and water, you mean? Lydia asked. Yes, though I prefer earth, water, air and fire. That way it corresponds to the states of matter in ascending degrees of energy. Earth is solid, the least energetic state. Water represents liquid, the next state you get as you supply energy to a solid. Air is gas. Fire represents pure energy, which is a higher state of matter, equals mc squared. So, there are 4 actions to perform, or objects we have to look for. No, the essences continue this trend of moving to higher states. There are at least 2 more. If you organize complex systems of matter in certain ways, another property emerges. That's complexity science, Lydia said. Emergent properties of complex systems, I've heard about that. Oddie grinned. Of course you have. Dev hadn't till I told him about it. Well, when certain self-catalyzing chemical reactions happen in the primordial soup for sufficient time, you get a property we call life. That's the theory anyway. However it comes about, we can look at life as a higher state of matter. It's doing more than it usually does. So life is another of these fundamental essences. What else is there? The next one, I think, said Oddie, is probably information or knowledge or even wisdom. I'm not sure. Information seems too basic to be a higher form. From Ambrose's ramblings, I think he uses the term sentience, said Xander. Ah, of course, Odie said. That's a higher form emerging from life. Thank you, Xander. That's cleared it up in my mind. Those are the essences I know. I don't know how many more there might be. I think there are 7, Xander said. Ambrose said something about each team or each hero having to work out the 7th for themselves. He talks about us as though we're characters in a story, Lydia remarked. He does, Xander agreed. But maybe he's justified in doing so. I mean, he's been organising these quests every few centuries for 6,000 years. Who's to say the events haven't passed down into legend? Maybe the quests came first, and the stories came after. There's always a mentor in the old sagas, Odie said. Usually an old man with a beard. There's also a young hero, said Xander, who wants adventure until it arrives, and is given some power or enchanted weapon. And often a wild man who gets the hero into trouble with terrible advice, said Odie. I hope I'm an apprentice mentor, not the wild man. Xander laughed. I don't think you're cut out to be a wild man, Odie. The wild man is impulsive, and either sneaky or a wee bit mad. I'm the hero, I suppose, Lydia groaned. Strong and dumb and expendable. How often does the hero survive? It varies, said Xander. But I should let you know, I am the hero. Lydia sighed. You're a cat, Xander. You're bound to think that. Lydia, Odie, and Xander mulled over the quest and the information Ambrose had tried to pass on. The sun eased down the sky to their right as they looked down towards the valley. If this world was to be believed, that meant they were looking southwards, and the hills were to the north. As the sun lowered, the first pair to return from their foraging were Shona and Christy. They came up the slope, chatting and laughing. Did you find any firewood? Asked Xander as they arrived. Loads, said Shona. We didn't have to cut anything down. There must have been a storm recently, there was so much. It's a lovely wood, light and open, Christy added. So most of what we found was quite dry. I'll try again, said Xander. Did you bring any firewood? Yes, it's... Oh, my stars, you can talk! Xander, you can talk! Shona squealed. Aye, Xander acknowledged. I've noticed how that keeps happening. Christy sat down next to Xander. Cats are cool anyway. You must be the coolest cat ever. I've never doubted it, Xander said. We can have a little fun seeing how long it takes the others to realise. The wood is in our bags, Shona said. Are we going to wait and see if the others have found a better campsite before we unload? That would be the best idea, Lydia said. I think we should unpack it by hand. The less we use wand magic, the less likely it is we'll draw unwanted attention. Yeah, we loaded it by hand because you'd said, Christy told them. Did anyone bring a hatchet or something? Don't look at me, Odie warned. Maybe one of the others will have one. I brought a machete and a few swords, Lydia admitted. Forgot to bring an axe, though. Oh, lids, said Shona. We should have known. What kind of girl doesn't carry a machete in her shoulder bag? Said Xander. Have you brought anything useful, Xander? Odie asked. Xander stood up. His tail made a swirling flourish. Here I am. They laughed. A call came from up the slope behind them. Jimmy and Dean were on their way down to join them. We found a cave, Jimmy announced as they arrived. Dean elaborated. We found more than a cave. There's a cave, well, like a tunnel really, that leads to a huge chamber. Some of the floor of the tunnel has fallen into this cavern. We couldn't see much with our torches, and we didn't want to risk using magic, but it's big. It sounded enormous when we dropped a stone down into it, Jimmy added. There were bones on the rocks below the hole. The gathered students gave each other ominous looks. I think there were bears and other animals. Probably wandered in and fell in the darkness. Does it seem like a nice place to set up camp? Shona asked. Niceness is optional, Lydia said. This feels like somewhere we need to investigate. Where are the others? We should make a move. Looking around, they could see Dev and Corbin tramping up the slope from the valley, their packs over their shoulders. The two boys waved to them. Shona looked anxious as they stood at the mouth of the cave. Is it all right to use the tent, Soddy? She asked. Lydia frowned. Why wouldn't it be? Shona looked down and shuffled her feet. I meant, is it all right that they're magical, and we shouldn't use magic? Sorry, Shones, Lydia murmured. I didn't mean to sound snappy. You're right to ask, and Oddie is our advisor. I don't think there's a problem with items which are imbued with magic, Oddie said. Or, if there is, there's nothing we can do about it. We each have a magical rucksack, and a wand, too. We've got loads of magical items between us, Dean said. Bags full of them, literally. Oddie looked puzzled. I thought yours was mostly pies and sausage rolls, Dean. Dean grinned. Exactly. Bloody magic. We'll put 3 tents up on the level ground here, Lydia said. Headquarters, boys' bunkhouse, and girls' royal residence. Then we can get a fire going and have a meal together. Part of the inherent magic of their tents was that they assembled themselves. Another part was that, of course, they were much larger on the inside than the outside. However, there was no magic to help with lighting a fire. They unpacked some of the firewood from their rucksacks, then stood around staring at it. Seriously? Lydia laughed. Not even you, Shona? You're muggle-born. I can see I'm going to have to teach you all some basics. Oddie and Sophie sat beside Lydia as she taught the others how to build a fire and where to place the kindling and tinder. She showed them how to use a sharp knife to make a finely sliced feather stick which would light easily. Then she explained the use of friction to create the heat needed to start a fire. She handed out pairs of sticks for them to rub together. Oddie nodded sagely at everything Lydia said. Sophie sat and smiled. All the others had stopped and were sitting red-faced and breathless, but Jimmy kept trying, convinced that his sticks were about to burst into flames. Of course, friction isn't the only way to start a fire, Lydia said. With a flourish, she produced a lighter from her pocket and pressed the button to light it. You each have a gas lighter like this in your rucksacks, she said with a grin. The whole idea of building a fire is the same. You just need to light something to put in the middle and get it going. She held up her feather stick, lit it, and pushed it into the base of the fire pile. She had to blow on it a few times, but the kindling soon caught, and with surprisingly little smoke, the fire grew. I suspect Ambrose may have included something in our rucksacks to dry out the firewood, Oddie remarked. They settled in a circle around the fire as the sun set. The wind was light, and the fire gave out only a little smoke. They shuffled around to avoid what fumes there were, until they realized it was futile. They had an impromptu meal from their bags, and shared stories about their lives.